Hi everyone, welcome to the channel dedicated to sharing the profound insights and wisdom of Andromedan contactee Alex Collier. If you're new here, you're in for a journey that expands your mind and consciousness, bringing you closer to understanding the messages from the fifth density Andromedan extraterrestrials. For those returning, we're grateful for your continued support. Before we dive into today's enlightening content, we have a small favor to ask. If you find value in the knowledge shared in this video, please consider hitting that like button, subscribing to our channel, and clicking the bell icon so you never miss an update. Your engagement helps us amplify Alex Collier's message, allowing us to reach a larger audience with these vital messages. We'd also love to hear from you, so please engage with the comments below. Whether it's a question, your thoughts, or even just an emoji for the sake of engagement, every comment counts. We read every single comment, and your feedback is incredibly valuable to us, as it all contributes to our mission of expanding this community. So please don't hesitate to leave your thoughts below. Additionally, if you'd like to support us further, consider giving a super thanks tip by clicking the heart with the $sign. This small gesture allows us to continue bringing you more of Alex's messages, unfiltered and directly from his lifelong experiences with the Andromedans. Today's video includes a compilation of several of the many important questions Alex Collier has received over the past few years, so please sit back, relax, and enjoy today's video.
Miners in Serbia dug up a statue that resembles an angel. It is so lifelike, it looks like it could be a living being. Have you seen it, and what are your thoughts about it?
Yes, I have seen it. And you're right. It almost as if it was a person that was frozen. Now, I say that, and we have other arts in museums all around the world that are marble. And you have to look at these and say, there's no way anyone carved this. The statue of David with all the veins in the arms and everything, and it's giant size, and it's totally proportionate to a giant. And you wonder, was this an actual person whose physicality was altered into stone? Or was this made with some type of a 3D printer where a block, and it was chiseled by lasers, because they're perfect. They're absolutely perfect, right down to the hair strands, the eyelids, the clothes they're wearing. There's one woman who's wearing a veil, and another woman where her body is covered with what looks like a fishnet. And it's perfect, absolutely perfect. And I think that this art probably came or survived the Tartan destruction, the destruction of Tartania. That's what I think. And someone decided to keep it and not to destroy it. And that's why it exists. And then what they just do is they just lie about the date of it, how old it is and stuff. And that's so easy because, for centuries we've bought all this bullshit anyway. So how would we know? I mean, the Vatican knows. They've got all those records down in the basement, in the catacombs, and the different levels. And I've told you the story about the Italian priest, and the elevator operator, because I wrote a book about it, and they were on the Oprah Winfrey show. It was either the first year or the second year that she was on television. And okay, I'm just going to say this real quick because I started it. Shoot. The Italian priest bumped into the elevator operator, who was very old, in his 80s, and he was very upset. and he told the Italian priest, look, they're making me retire. He goes, I don't want to retire. This is my whole life. This is all I've ever done. And they're making me retire. He was very upset. So the Italian priest was with an American priest, and he said, look, come with me to my elevator. And he took them down into the catacombs to a place where there were no floors, and he knew exactly when to stop it, and he did. He opened up a compartment, pulled out 3 flashlights, and he walked them down the catacombs into a room. In the center of the room were all these computer parts, okay, what looked like computer parts. And on another wall on this side here were all these slabs with ancient writings on them, which they had never seen. The most amazing thing was in the far corner of the room, there was this pile of rocks that lit up the room like they were LED lights, but it was some type of phosphorus. So they walk in, and the American priest says to the Italian priest, what are all these computer parts doing here? So he asked the old man, who brought all this down here, these computer parts? And he said, these were not computer parts. These all were found in the desert during the Crusades. Okay? So, and turns out they believed that these were parts of UFOs that had either crashed or had been destroyed in battles and the such. The tablets along the wall, they were made of alloys they had never seen before, in languages they never knew. That part has not been resolved, what those are and what they represent. The pile of rocks, however, was really interesting. He asked him about that, and he said that those rocks were taken out of the Great Pyramid of Giza because they were on shelves, and they led you the way through the Great Pyramid up to the antechamber. Right? So these rocks were taken out of the Great Pyramid of Giza and are now somewhere in a room in the catacombs. And they wrote a book about it, and apparently it was shut down, and the Vatican bought all the copies. And they paid the printer to never print it again. So, who's shocked by that? So they know. They know.
Some critters, asks Natalie Ann, like sharks, certain spiders, cane-toed wasps, some snakes and scorpions are loved as God's creatures. Why do I get the feeling that's not true at all? Some insects are destroying croplands, some animals kill, like sharks. I like to put a spin on common perceptions. What do you think of dangerous critters?
You know, there are a lot of people that think that nature's all kumbaya. We can all be love, and nature can be quite the opposite. It can be very dangerous. Now, as far as a shark, it has to feed. It's how it grows. It gets its nourishment from outside of itself. Otherwise, the movie Shark Tales, which I've watched with my kids, there'd be restaurants, there'd be swim-throughs where they could, get something, a burger, a shrimp salad, something like that. And of course, none of that is true. That's not what nature is. In the insect world, it's very much the same thing. It's a balance. Nature is a balance. And as life lives and then dies and decays, there are usually other species that will live off of that decay or those things that have crossed over or have died in order to maintain a balance of a system. I look at nature and I'm literally in awe of how incredible it works. And we've had no hand in it whatsoever other than try to change nature or manipulate nature. But nature was here long before we were. Now, there are probably species on our planet and in other worlds that were genetically modified from other worlds and were created to be on our planet, where they were never meant to be on our planet. And I find that interesting, such as octopi, octopus. They clearly were not from Earth. They were brought here. Obvious. Science even concludes that. Um, and I'm sure there are others that they know about, but they haven't openly talked about yet. You could almost look at Earth as a zoo. As a zoo. I know that's true of San Francisco. It's a zoo. But you could look at the ecosystem of the entire world uh, as a zoo, an experiment with humanity cohabitating the same space with the zoo or in the zoo. Um, nature is what nature is. How we interact with it is how we interact with it. I think that there are parts of nature we need to just leave alone and allow it to be itself. Do I think we need to exterminate certain things? No, I don't. I think nature does that herself. I think when a species has outlived its usefulness, it becomes extinct. And others come out of that or come from some other place in order to fill that gap. Earth's unique ecosystem, it's my understanding, according to Morné and Visayas, is only one of 8 in our galaxy. Where we have, in other words, there are only 7 others that have a complex ecosystem like that we live with every day here on Earth. So it's unique. It's very unique. And of course, that's information we would have because maybe we would appreciate it more. Maybe we would even protect it more. But of course, that's information we don't have or hasn't been shared with us. That's all I got. That's all I got on that.
Thank you for being who you are and your contribution to my well-being and sanity. I'm having a very hard time learning our true history because I find many contradicting accounts. Would you elaborate on the relationship between the Lyran Wars, the involvement of the Anunnaki in this war, if any, and their relationship to the Draconians and the Greys? Got a spare couple of days?
Well, I'm going to have to put the crayons back in the box and put that aside for this. Okay, here's what I know, and here's the quick answer. The collapse of the Lyran civilization by what we now know as the Draconian races occurred a very, very, very long time ago. The result of that collapse was the migration of many different races throughout the galaxy. The Greys came after that. The Anunnaki would have come after that collapse as well. Elena has some really interesting information regarding the origin of the Anunnaki. And I know she's going to talk about it on her webinar on the 25th. So I'm going to refrain from sharing that information because that's her lane. She's written to me about it and asked me, and I had no input on it because I have no knowledge of that information. So I'm just gonna leave it there. But she has some of that. She has some really interesting information about that, about the origin of the Anunnaki. And as far as Orion, um, I'm not aware that they were nothing but scattered colonies at that point. It could very well be that the true story is far more complicated than has been passed down to us. And, sadly, it's very difficult to trust any of the history that we have on this planet because it's been so fragmented on purpose to keep us blind and to keep us illiterate to that knowledge. Anything that would awaken us to our true divinity and star lineage. I mean, there are still people on this planet who still think we're the only ones in the vastness of space. I can't wrap my head around that. I couldn't even as a child, before I met Morine and Faseus. I simply could not wrap my head about it. I always knew that was impossible. So, just do the best you can. Do the best you can if that's your passion. History's my passion as well. I do the best I can. And whatever pieces I don't have, I try to find. I ask Morine now when we talk about some of that information. Sometimes I get pieces of information, and other times he's not delivered yet on that information. But I also understand that he has multiple roles and he is jumping back and forth in time and dimensions. So I don't give him a hard time. I don't bust his chops because I can't even imagine that role that he has to play, as well as having his own children and raising his brother's children he has taken on, 17 in all. I can't even imagine. So just do the best you can, and at some point we will get that information and all the pieces will fall into place. And then all of us will have the entire panorama of knowledge and history. I do foresee that. I absolutely do. And it's not far off either. At most it's a decade before we have those pieces.
Hello, Alex, aloha. Obviously, a
Aloha.
Hawaiian. You have said you know your own frequency. How did you come to know it? How does it manifest? Would you say it's a very high-pitched sound you hear in your inner hearing? Is it always there or intermittent? And how can we know our frequency as opposed to our soul's starship family tuning into us and downloading information?
Well, I don't know that there's one answer for that, because I know that everyone's journey is their own. The only thing that I can share with you is my own journey and then learning my own frequency. It's a song. It's a song. It's not just one tone, because you're not just one tone. You are a basket of frequencies, of resonant frequencies. And this basket of frequencies is the sum total of not just who you were when you came in or were created by Source, but your lifetimes and your experiences as well. So you could say that my song is a symphony without words. And I've learned it by being in a space of absolute silence. When you're in a place of absolute silence, the only thing you can hear is you. Now, how people get there is something else. Being from a large family, sometimes you just learn how to tune everything out. In other words, you could be at home and your brothers and sisters are running around screaming, this one's crying, this one's mom, dad, Michael touched me, Rick, I didn't do anything to you, all this stuff. Okay. And what you do is you just tune it out. You literally just tune it all out and you don't hear any of it. Doesn't mean you're not aware of everything that's going on in the house. It just means you tune it out. And in the tuning it out, what I'm listening to is me. I am listening to my thoughts. I am aware of my thoughts. I am paying attention to how I feel, and I have to admit that I was given these gifts by Mornay and Faseus because it was easy. It was easy when I'm up in fifth density in a starship, and I have the belt on me. It's just me. It's only me in there. The ships are absolutely dead quiet because they're telepathic. There's no screaming. There's no don't touch me. There's, don't wear my clothes. There's none of that stuff going on, Who ate my pretzels? It's just, and if you've come from a large family, you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? There's none of that. It's just you. And you learn. You just learn. And And what's really interesting is that when I get really quiet and my song is off, then I know that I'm physically coming into some distress. It took me a long time to figure that out. It did. But now I know. Now I know. I don't know if I could teach anybody else how to do that because my process has been different. But when I need to get to that place, when I need to hear my own frequency, to just chill, to ground, I like to be in trees, and I'm blessed. I have an incredible pine tree out front. I have two here. I have a blue spruce right there. I have the ficus here in the house, and I have an oak tree right there. And it was like, when I was shown this place to rent, it was like it was picked for me. It was like it was chosen for me, because I went from the car to this, living in the car to this townhouse. And it was like it was chosen for me. I couldn't have picked a better place because of all these trees. I love them to death. And I talk to them all the time. And I have 3 Norfolk pines in my bedroom as well that are whippersnappers, but they're growing very quickly. And they talk to me. And when they need my attention, I don't know if you know this, but trees release a pheromone, a scent when they want your attention. And they do. It's exactly when they need water, or they need to be turned, you know, suddenly my attention is brought to them because they've released this pheromone. That's how they talk or communicate with humans. It's really interesting. I've learned a lot. And everything communicates. Everything communicates. It's, there was a book in the 70s or 80s, The Secret Life of Plants. I can't remember who the author was. It was a very thick paperback. Man, I loved that book. I took it everywhere with me. Because I was always in nature. That's where I wanted to be. So, anyway, next question, please. I went on the deep end on that. I'm sorry. Next question, please.
That's fine. It's quite a sweet thing, and very interesting about the trees. Hello, Alex and the A-Team. Thank you for all you do for humanity. So, as we are aware, we have part of our soul here with us, and our higher self is above. But my question is, what are your feelings for the higher self that has had to sit and watch part of it that has been recycled back here hundreds, if not thousands of times by the dark side, without our soul here getting back to source? Even our higher self must miss, in a way, the missing part. Interesting question.
Okay. I hear the question, and it's termed in a very ancient vernacular. So, you are soul. Your soul is always with you. But your soul is not limited to one dimension. Your soul has the ability to be in different time zones, different dimensions, and different realities all at the same time. Now, the one thing that you have in common with your physical body and soul here is your eighth chakra. Your physical form, and let's say sixth density, I'm just making that up, but to give you an expression, your expression of yourself, which is in sixth density. I don't know the entire chakra system of a sixth density being, but the very top chakra is your portal to source. That is where your soul is constantly getting information and feedback from source. That is, in fact, your connection to source. That is where the energy, the light that you exist with comes from source, is that top chakra. Every dimension has that. Every physicality that contains soul has that as well. Doesn't matter if it's a parakeet. Okay, they are connected to source. The energy that animates it is source. The trees, everything is source. Creator, Great Spirit. And this is why they say that consciousness is beyond time. Because it is, because it's all source. We form a perspective. We narrow our vision into specific physicalities to have an experience. And that's all we've done, is taken our consciousness and narrowed it into a very narrow field of physicality so that we can have an experience. If we no longer desire to have any physical reality whatsoever, then we would return back to that space where we were with Source, looking at all of Source's creations and dimensions physical realms of worlds. Every single one of us is a time traveler, because technically time does not exist. It's a construct that we use in physical form to have a physical experience. I clearly see it in my head. I just don't always have the words to actually express it. And this is where a Greg Braden comes in, because he's so articulate and so brilliant with that kind of work. Dan Winters is another one who can explain this, how we can be in two different realms at the exact same time. Because the only expression of time is that which we create for ourselves. The fact that we're all here is because we're all in agreement to share this space in a time realm and to create time. I'm sure Elena would have her opinions on this. There's so many other people that I know I'm forgetting who could explain this better than I could. We have the ability to just fold space. And here we are. And here we are. And here we are. Most of this knowledge has been completely kept from us so that we would feel trapped, so that we would be trapped and stuck, because consciously we wouldn't even think about those kind of realities. That's why none of this was ever shown to us or taught us, because the minute that window was open, we'd all figure it out, because we're very smart. We're very clever. We would figure that out and we would get out the window. All of us would figure out a way out the window. So they made sure that we didn't even know those windows were there.
Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you found it insightful, please like the video, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon so you don't miss out on future updates. If you have any questions relating to today's video, please also leave them below. We read all the comments and take on board what our viewers have to say about Alex Collier's work. Remember, your support helps Alex Collier's knowledge and the messages from the Andromedans reach more people. If you'd like to support the channel even more, you can give us a super thanks tip by clicking the heart icon with a $sign. It really helps our team bring you more content. Also, be sure to visit alexcollier.org to sign up for our regular email newsletter. It's the best way to stay updated with the latest news, exclusive content, and upcoming live webinars. For the latest insights from Alex Collier, check out alexcollier.live. And if you want to explore over 250 past webinars, head over to alexcollier.tv. Thank you for being a part of this journey and supporting Alex Collier's work. We couldn't do this without you, and we're genuinely grateful for your support. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the vast mysteries of our universe. If you would like to see the Andromedan contactee Alex Collier live via video stream, we hold a live online seminar every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. For more information on upcoming live webinars, please visit alexcollier.org.